The Call of Duty franchise is one of the biggest entertainment platforms of all time, and for the past 18 years, the franchise has made a string of winning projects, despite fans and fellow Call of Duty communities alike having a love-hate relationship. Creating genius works like the Black Ops trilogy, solid games like Call of Duty 4, World at War, and Modern Warfare 2, and moderate ones like Ghosts, Modern Warfare 3, and Infinite Warfare. Nevertheless, one of the greatest aspects about the Call of Duty franchise, and most impressive, is the sense of authenticity. Other gaming franchises usually are happy to gloss over, change, and contradict previous installments like their narratives, characters, concepts, etc., but Call of Duty has always managed to maintain consistent, and I think it deserves a lot of credit for that. The makers of these games took their roles seriously, putting in the work to get what they were making right, communicate to players to have a strong understanding of what happened, could happen, what it's like, and respectful. But like all winning streaks and good things, they inevitably fall. Enter the 18th installment of Call of Duty. Call of Duty Vanguard is really terrible, a ludicrous game with dull, lifeless characters, nonsensical, incoherent narrative, too many half-baked ideas, artificially dumbed down, departs from the serious integrity of the series, and insults the times it takes place in. A ridiculous video game with a healthy budget that removes virtually everything that made Call of Duty interesting and entertaining. So without further delay, let's dive into this. Developed by Sledgehammer Games and their third title in the series, Vanguard is somewhat of a prequel in a new Call of Duty connected universe that kickstarted in March 2020 with the launch of Warzone, Call of Duty's free-to-play battle royale game. Taking place in the year 1945 in Hamburg, Germany, you play as a unit called Task Force 1, a diverse squad of soldiers sent in to search for intelligence about a Nazi program called Project Phoenix, where the group shoots their way in and infiltrates a U-boat base where the intel they're looking for is supposedly being kept and apparently being prepped to leave. Unfortunately, the group gets captured, led by an SS officer named Friesener, who kills one of them and has the rest of the unit delivered to the Gestapo headquarters in Berlin and appoints one of his officers named Richter to interrogate them. When Richter takes each member of the group into private to be interrogated, you play flashbacks about over-the-top backstories that are crazier than the main story in the present time. As the interrogation goes on, Richter discovers there is something bigger behind the scenes at work in the Gestapo, that his superior is rallying people loyal to him to replace Adolf Hitler and bring the Fourth Reich. Needless to say, Task Force 1 comes up with a plan to escape, get their intel if they can, and get out of there. Getting into the plot first, it's a mismatched combination of different ideas, some of which borrowed from other video game franchises, bouncing around from different time periods and places, with characters, plot points, levels, and moments with no hint of originality, all stitched together and implemented. If you're familiar with Call of Duty and my summary of the story seemed a bit short, then you'll probably understand another problem here. Call of Duty campaigns are 15 to 18 missions, with a few more challenging levels which, depending on what difficulty you choose to play, that could spin out the experience. Vanguard is just 9 missions, with lots of filler scripted sequences and extended cutscenes. The majority of the missions you actually play don't really add anything to the story, move the plot forward, or even expand on the history of the world it takes place in, while introducing entirely new characters and cliched moments, many of which make no logical sense in the context of the era, and no impact to the larger story. It's unfocused and convoluted, trying to do too many different things all at the same time, and it has no common sense or maturity to properly focus on any of them, and the result is all the interesting things and possibilities are not at all touched upon. Like the Battle of Midway in 1942, which was an epic clash in the Pacific between the US Navy and the Imperial Japanese, which was a crucial battle for the United States in stopping Japan from neutralizing them as a naval power. Or the attack on Stalingrad in August 1942, when the Luftwaffe ravaged the entire city, killing thousands, and the German army splitting up the the Soviets' forces, or the 93rd Infantry Division's duty and combat in the Pacific Theater, or how such a diverse team of fighters from different parts of the world were put together and sent in on a covert mission in the first place.
Might the officer in charge tell us what the hell we're doing here?
This ain't just another Easter egg hunt, is it?
Yeah, mate, what's the bloody story?
If this is so important, why did they not send an army?
They did. There's 6 of us.
Mate, we're not from the same army. Hell, we're not even from the same continent.
The tone and atmosphere veers wildly in this game, from ironic, goofy humor, weird, cringe dialogue that wishes it was insightful and sharp, forced, insincere at times, heavy drama, and excessive war violence. The problem is all the lighter moments are boring and obvious, and the supposedly serious bits or heavier ones are laughable. Call of Duty games took themselves seriously, creating compelling and exciting games that truly managed to be pretty disturbing, heavy, and horrifying at times. Yes, some of the games knew just when to inject a bit of levity to lighten things up, but once the shooting started, the games don't fuck around, and it brings on the business.
Tell me and it's yours.
Our contact with a man named Volk. We never met Makarov.
Where's this Volk?
Paris! He oversaw the delivery in Paris!
Right then. This is for the boys at Hereford.
The pacing is awful as well. The game is voice narrated from one of the characters about himself and the group in a non-linear storytelling style. When each member of the cast gets the spotlight, players are abruptly thrown into a flashback about their personal history to give them some quick backstory. Once these backstories are completed, unlocks cutscenes to the main story, which are endless, dull conversations over and over again. What was clearly meant to be an intense adventure war thriller instead just wounds up giving players a plethora of talking, frustrating moments, and torturous exposition. Gets to the point of having the characters discuss something just so it could happen in the very next scene, while telling players exactly what's going on and their personality is. Voice narration is not an exposition machine. Voiceovers are supposed to be used with a distinct purpose to complement good visual storytelling. This game doesn't trust players to put pieces together themselves, trust players to make up their own minds about characters, or players don't know things. It needs to make sure everything is explained. Call of Duty has told non-linear and out-of-chronological order narratives before, but the difference here is that the writers and directors of those previous titles understood how to craft an intelligent, well-structured game that functions on its own merits. Take the Black Ops trilogy or even 2020's Black Ops Cold War for examples. All the flashbacks and additional levels and scenes in those games were all there to add new context and different meaning to established events, instead of explaining things that make no sense initially. And the writers were intelligent, talented, and understood how to put together a smart narrative that keeps players invested. While in Vanguard, there are so many out-of-sequence events, characters, plot threads, scripted sequences, and cutscenes, it's hard to even know what's going on half the time. Half of the cast of characters could probably be dropped from this game, and it would have resulted in a tighter script that could actually focus on something. Which brings me to the most important thing, the characters. They are embarrassingly bad. The Call of Duty series has had a variety of interesting characters, heroes and villains with differing motivations and objectives. Some were simplistic, others were complex or multifaceted, but more importantly, they were treated serious and with dignity. Take Viktor Reznov from 2008's World at War, a fierce patriot of the Soviet Union in the 1940s, who is cultured, articulate, and intelligent, but he's also capable of great savagery and violence against the Germans that destroyed his homeland of Stalingrad and massacred his countrymen during the Battle of the Eastern Front that took place in 1942. As the story progresses, he develops into a leader, including a mentor to his fellow comrades, offering a unique perspective about the war to liberate his country he loves and end the war in Europe. Or Jonathan Irons from 2014's Advanced Warfare, a hard, pragmatic man of principle who was the CEO of a fictional private registered company called Atlas. After his son died during a military operation ordered by the United States government, over the course of the game, he strives to change the world and save humankind from destruction. He has the right ideas and a good goal in mind, but the methods he uses to acquire his goal crosses moral lines. And gradually he becomes power-hungry and remorseless, willing to sacrifice the few for the many to improve his company's image. While the game's writing encouraging players to ask themselves interesting questions about warfare if a private corporation became a superpower for hire. But in this game, there is nothing to work with. None of them are remotely interesting or have anything approaching a character arc. Every character in this game is a walking, one-dimensional stereotype or just a lame-ass joke. We meet this Arthur, a delightful British African soldier that assumes his authority with no objections from anyone that can speak many languages. This American big ego guy is Wade, who can pilot any aircraft. This guy is Lucas, a wisecracking Australian that likes blowing stuff up. This is Polina, a cold-blooded Soviet woman that kills Nazis because she likes doing it.
Do we understand the plan?
I shoot Nazis. They die. That's my plan.
And the rest of the cast and supporting characters either vanish or die as quickly as they appear. The antagonists and enemies in this game suffer as well. Remember Raul Menendez and his terrorist organization Cortes Dia from Black Ops 2? They were generally unsettling, intelligent, merciless, and dangerous antagonists. They were strong in behavior and appearance, always one step ahead of the good guys, while acting in service of a higher goal to bring down Western civilization. While the antagonists and enemies here are pathetic, gullible, monumentally stupid, and are never able to present an actual threat to the protagonists in any way. Richter is a weak, cowardly, foolish SS officer just doing his job and what's instructed of him, while Freisener is a needy, selfish, arrogant Nazi officer that kills one of the unit and does basically nothing for the rest of the game, whose plan gets uncovered and easily foiled by people who are clearly stronger and far more intelligent than him. Not exactly memorable villains, but the point is that you're not supposed to fear them, you're supposed to laugh at them. Also, part of the fun of the heroes in Call of Duty was watching them struggle, fighting and dealing with threats they've never encountered or handled before, despite how highly trained and experienced they were in the field or the line of duty, and had to find unorthodox solutions to difficult problems, as well as soldiers and warriors respecting each other in combat. These guys don't experience any of that. Nothing ever challenges them, they don't learn anything, always know what to do, trashing each other like it's some competition to see who's the most overbearing, and beat anyone who stands in their way. I feel like this game was written by a child, since most of the characters think and behave like children as well.
Is this the best you Nazi f***s have to offer?
You know what I see? I see a ton of shit outside that goes boom. Now what do you suppose we should do about that?
Well, we should blow it the fuck up.
Is he finally f***ing dead?
I think so. They're much tougher than I thought.
Hell, you didn't have to fight him.
I help. Follow it.
Fucking genius idea, Jacobs.
That's Sir to you, Private.
The name's Dez, and that's Lucas, and neither of us give a f*** about your rank.
I just need to see the back of his head.
Tough shot, we taking bets?
How much you willing to lose?
Where are those bombers? They better hurry up, because I'm winning.
You're not winning!
I am winning, and you'd better catch up.
Unbelievable.
It's bad enough I have to wear this thing at all. Now it's flammable. All those years teaching me how to shoot. Wasted. Stuck in a med tent.
But the worst of all that Vanguard does is that it rewrites history into a politically correct framework. Instead of creating an accurate depiction, telling an honest, compelling, universal story and video game with characters that depicts war as it was, while honoring the millions of men and women who lived, fought, and died through the carnage of World War II. It's disingenuous and self-serving to twist the facts or rewrite them in favor of things like politics you hold or to please an agenda. Taking a few liberties for the sake of dramatization or gameplay is one thing, but this is deliberate and inclusive revisionism. Such as this scene in the story, the leader Arthur says this character's actions inspired the Russians to take back their city and go on the offensive, that Polina changed the course of the war for the Allies and her people. Which is insulting and disingenuous because it essentially attributes victory to heroism of one person, a one superheroine victory when it was the heroism of millions of people in the actual war effort. The Battle of Stalingrad was the longest and bloodiest engagement in all human history. More than 2 million people fought in close quarters with nearly 2 million killed in the fighting, including tens of thousands of Russian civilians. rewriting history and reducing it so it can elevate and replace its center stage with a character who's not very compelling and an absolute nothing that doesn't get any character development, with constant positive affirmation that she's the greatest sharpshooter in Stalingrad and positively affirming herself.
My aim is shit compared to yours. You've always been a better shot than me.
We're counting on you!
As you should.
Or the American 93rd Infantry Division, a colored regiment that fought in the Pacific Theater that assisted the American Infantry Army against the Japanese in 1944, reducing them and the roles of the regiment to being there to educate one of the characters who was a white male the error of his ways. It is so disrespectful and offensive, making the characters portraying them as activists instead of honoring or doing service to the actual 93rd Company and to the people who fought and in many cases died there. In addition, the history, scope, and scale of World War II is clearly way beyond the writer's abilities to control, as it just bounces aimlessly from a place in time to the next. And it feels like an excuse to work and play in World War II historical events. There's no real sense of time or place to any of it, and absolutely no urgency. If you want a far superior game from the Call of Duty series that's focused and depicts World War II as it was, go play World at War. Not only is the writing and direction far superior, but it's a game with characters and compelling fictional stories about soldiers answering the call of the nation, fulfilling their duty to go to war and how war changes people, while reminding players what was really going on at the time, playing through representations of historical conflicts with period-accurate tones and uniforms, and importantly what this was all about.
And indeed the hope of all mankind, that from this solemn occasion a better world shall emerge out of the blood and carnage of the past.
After seeing all the feedback of dislike this Call of Duty has gotten and playing it through myself, I can wholeheartedly confirm, yes, it deserves it. In short, Vanguard is a waste of the Call of Duty name, waste of talent, and dropped the ball big time. This is a dumb, low-effort, insulting, desperate, and disposable garbage. And unfortunately, it represents the worst tendencies of entertainment today. Childlike heroes, humiliating villains, historical revisionism that tries to justify the behaviors of modern society, and taking real people's lives and experiences, reducing them to simplistic stereotypes. When they could have gotten the right talent, focused on accuracy and story to create something engaging and fabulous. Hopefully Activision and the developers will have the good sense to get the franchise back on track before it becomes a total embarrassment. This somewhat of a Call of Duty is a downgrade beyond a joke.
I primarily wrote all of Paulina's lines and how do we make the iconic COD characters, because we don't really have that in Call of Duty right now, you know, when you think...
I need only your screams. That will convince your friends to talk.
Why? Because I am a woman.
What?